Hi guys, welcome back to the barn. Moving large pieces of material and or components around a small workshop is always tricky. But with a little forethought and ingenuity, there is always a simple arc that can make your workflow easier. So, whilst I was struggling to cut up these large sheets of MFC, a future project that will be coming to this channel, I came up with a really simple design for these cantilevered bench cauls. Like the frame for the workbench, I cut the 4 pieces of timber from some construction grade rough sawn timber I already had in the workshop and regularised it through the Triton thickness planer. And before I went any further with the build, I just ensured that the loading was going to be adequate onto the workbench. These cauls will have a T-groove routed in the top of them for additional clamping. And to router the groove, I'm using an 1/2 inch T-slot cutter from Axminster Tools. Now, a spoiler alert, my next video will be the making of this little router table, which was made at the same time as the cauls, as the router table cantilevers over the bench top. Previously, I had adapted this featherboard in the small loft workshop so it could be screwed to a backing and clamped to the router tables. And like most things in woodworking, the setting up process takes longer than the thing you actually want to do. After a small test cut, it was just a case of feeding the entire length through the router in one go. The good thing about 1/2 inch cutters is you're less likely to break one, unlike the 1/4 inch version. This cutter is very hard to dust extract and all the waste mostly gets left within the groove. So you've got to give it a good clean out with a chisel or a screwdriver before you can actually use it. But the groove is a perfect fit for a track clamp. Because I'm making 4 cauls, but I need 2 to support the router, I had to swap the cauls round mid-router session. And here you can see the grooves and the clamps in their first use. And then it was just a case of routering the other pair. And then swapping my routers so I could use a 1/4 inch round over bit just to ease the corners of the cauls. When I made my MFT top a couple of weeks ago, I said I would only open up the 3mm holes to 20mm when I had a need for that hole. And here I need an extra 2 holes. And now all 4 cauls can be fitted down the workbench top. Let's start with a clean workbench. Actually, these cauls do make it easy to clean the bench top. And let's get set up for their first test. It certainly ticks the box for laying down large scale sheet materials and could be useful for those afternoon siestas. But the main aim is to facilitate easier cutting of material, and it certainly does this. And as well as cutting, it allows materials to be processed in other ways. Here I'm using my Craig jig, and here I'm sanding an oddly shaped item. Don't underestimate these really simple workshop projects. They can save you lots of time and a lot of struggle. Thanks for watching, see you next week.